What's up, guys? Jason Oblay here, and I just want to talk to you about something. So, a little backstory for this before I get started. This happened with a Facebook group that I was added to. Was a bodybuilding Facebook group. I'm not going to say the name, but it was kind of a mainstream bodybuilding type Facebook. It wasn't one that's based for anything scientific. It was basically just everything's very mainstream. Half the people there worshipped Arnold and any of the other big time, especially classic era bodybuilders, and many people would consider most of the people to be bro types. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. It's actually normal. I consider myself a bit more of a bro than some people who are completely on the scientific end. I admit to not knowing all the science, so I do not consider myself on the scientific end. So, basically what this video is going to be about is when you are pursuing something, and I'm going to use strength training, bodybuilding, anything in that realm as my base for this conversation, you must be open to new ideas and recognize when old ideologies have been proven wrong by science or newer ideas proven better, that you can't just assume everything is correct because someone back in the day who was very successful assumed it was right. I mean, this is where basically the bro science comes in. Is like, most common ones are like, you must eat 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. Well, this was the standard for many years, and to many people it still is. Will it cause you not to get results? No. In fact, you'll be getting plenty of protein, so you probably will get results on the diet end of it. But the reality is it's closer to 1 gram per 1 pound of lean body mass. So the reality is you need far less protein than you actually think. But so this is what happened. In the group, there was a older gentleman. He's in his 50s. I believe he is Indian, but I'm not 100% sure. He was asking about how is he going to build muscle and what type of diet should he follow, but he mentions that he is vegetarian. So, first thing I start seeing in the comments, people start saying, you must eat meat, that you are at a disadvantage you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by not eating meat. Well, this is a popular idea which was basically coined during the golden era of bodybuilding by the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, etc., that eating meat was a requirement for building muscle. Now, modern nutrition will tell us that's absolutely not true, and you don't have to eat any meat at all. And vegetarians are at absolutely no disadvantage to a omnivorous bodybuilder in ability to get enough protein and build muscle, especially vegetarians that eat eggs and dairy products. I mean, if you eat eggs and dairy products, it's basically the same as if you eat chicken breast, fish, steak, whatever. But so I post on there that he doesn't have to eat meat, that he can get sufficient protein from eggs and dairy, and immediately people respond telling me that I'm wrong, that I'm making up stuff, and that you must eat meat. If you don't eat meat, you won't be able to build muscle. So what I do is I give them examples of vegetarian and vegan strength athletes that are successful at building muscle. And one of the ones I used, and I used a vegan athlete as an example to be on an even more extreme, and I actually think it is arguable that vegans are at a slight disadvantage, because it's just much harder to get protein in as a vegan because eggs and dairy are just such good sources in comparison to only plant-based, but you still can get plenty of protein through plant-based foods. You just have to be more aware of it, and you have to have a more varied protein source to where if you're a vegetarian, you could only have eggs or only have dairy and get plenty of protein. As a vegan, you're going to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, etc., etc. But the example I used was Patrick Baboumian, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he is a professional strongman competitor from Germany. He holds a Guinness World Record for, I think, the 10-meter yoke carry, and he's yoke carrying over 1,200 pounds. The guy's absolutely massive. He's won the Germany Strongest Man Open division, and he's 100% vegan. He doesn't take in any animal products. But when I mention this, it gets completely dismissed, and I start getting made fun of because I'm bringing in a new idea, which not only is, it's not wrong that I'm bringing in a new idea, I'm actually correct, and I'm arguing it in an appropriate manner by providing evidence, using examples, and explaining why a vegetarian diet is not inferior to an omnivorous diet. However, my competition just says, no, you must eat meat. No, you must eat meat. And in the end, I end up actually getting banned from this group for sticking by my point and saying that they are wrong and you do not have to eat meat. Now, this is what, I really don't care that I got banned from the group. There was virtually nothing in that group that I was going to gain from. There wasn't very much good advice going on in that group. But my point is this. When you're presented with new ideas, you shouldn't dismiss them as being just bullshit or completely bogus until you actually see what the idea is. And if you're going to argue, you can't just rely on things like, oh, so-and-so said, and something old. And this is exactly what they were doing, and it was probably Arnold, but it was probably many others as well, both before Arnold and after Arnold, saying that you must eat meat to gain muscle. And that just doesn't cut it when I could provide genuine evidence that's both backed by research and backed by trial and error that a vegetarian diet is equally as good for building muscle. However, they stuck by their ignorance, and instead of actually trying to make a legitimate debate with me, they just banned me from the group, and they're probably still making fun of me in the thread, but that's irrelevant. That's their own fault and their own loss. I just think it's funny because in the rules of the group, which I actually read for a change, it says that scientific debate is 110% welcome. And it's obviously not, because as soon as someone brought in science to the group, everyone just went batshit crazy and went back to their old superstitions about having to eat meat and not caring that this man is probably a vegetarian for reasons that he's not going to change just to gain muscle. They would rather stick by their ignorance than actually look at the situation. But basically, all I'm wanting to get, the point I'm trying to make in this video, and I hope I didn't just ramble on nonsensically too much, but the point I'm trying to make is that you can't hold on to old relics of information like this just because someone great back in the day said it. And Arnold was amazing. He is absolutely amazing, and he's actually extremely knowledgeable on the subject. But when there is scientific evidence that contradicts something that he might have said, you have to look at the scientific evidence and you have to accept that the scientific evidence might be correct. And let's face it, it probably is correct. And also, be a bit more open-minded to new ideas and different ideas. Don't immediately, when you hear something you don't like, just assume, oh, it has to be bad, it can't be good, it must be terrible. And you have to try to look at things in as open of a mind as possible. That way you can actually see what is good and what is bad. And in the end, it's going to make you better at whatever you're doing. If I stuck with ignorant ways on what I thought for my athletic training, I would still be doing a lot of stupid stuff that's just not as effective as stuff that I've adapted later on. Now, I will admit I've been stubborn and ignorant to things before, and I probably still will in the future. I mean, no one's perfect, and people make mistakes, but I'm going to try myself to be more open-minded about this, and I hope more people will as well. So, probably talked too much and bored everybody to death already. So, until next time, peace.